Really cool species that, like I said, can be tough to find. If you do find them, it's worth taking a quick look. The biggest week in American birding is one of the premier birding festivals in the United States. We were lucky enough to attend this event and get a first-hand look at everything that it has to offer. Our first 2 days in town, we checked out the famous McGee Marsh Boardwalk, enjoyed some of the goings-on at the Maumee Bay Lodge, and explored some other natural areas in northern Ohio. Today, we woke up early to join a field trip in a place with a totally different habitat than what we had seen in the rest of the state. What a gnarly day.
It's not looking great. We're going to a place called Oak Openings with one of the tour groups. It's a meet-on-site trip, so we're meeting everybody there. It's supposed to be a really cool place, but it just is foggy. So that is not great for birding, and wet, which is also not great for birding when you're walking through grassland. So we'll have to see how we do, but I know Tyler's one of the guides, so he's really good, so that should help us out, and hopefully it's still a really cool time.
I'm really excited for this Oak Openings trip because there's a lot of birds here that we haven't seen in the state yet. A lot of those grassland, savanna type species. Some of the birds mentioned were lark sparrow, blue grosbeak. So I'm excited to get there, see what it's like, and maybe even find some other animals as well, such as reptiles, or I was told that even badgers live there, so it seems like anything's possible. You Drive We Lead field trips involve participants driving themselves to the site location, as opposed to the van trips that depart from the Maumee Bay Lodge. This trip was led by our friend Tyler Ficker, along with other Big Week guides as well. By the time we arrived, the rain had stopped, but other things were still causing us trouble.
We just arrived at the Oak Openings field trip. It's cool, and we already heard blueing, warbler, eastern towhee, but there's tons of bugs here, so that could be a little rough if we're swatting mosquitoes the whole time.
We searched the area around the parking lot, finding many birds at home in the forests of Oak Openings.
One of the good things about Oak Openings is that it has this young successional forest, and so it actually is a great breeding grounds for blue-winged warbler, which is otherwise a pretty uncommon migrant up on the lakefront.
From the parking lot, we moved on to a trail where we found a red-headed woodpecker, and ended up on a bridge that proved to be a gold mine for interesting birds. This bridge has been a really good hotspot for a ton of different species, most notably the olive-sided flycatcher has been really cool. I actually saw beaver come onto the bridge too, red-headed woodpecker looks, rose-breasted grosbeak, so this has been the best spot so far. We also just got a hot tip that there might be a yellow-breasted chat somewhere, which would be a really cool species that loves this kind of habitat, so excited to see what else is out here for sure. After spending a considerable amount of time at the bridge, we continued on to a place where the habitat opened up more. Here we found an interesting vireo species.
Tyler, there's a couple white-eyed vireos though, more out in the open.
White-eyed vireo up here.
White-eyed vireos singing, showing nicely.
By chance, one of our new friends we had met the day before was also on the trip with us, and white-eyed vireo was actually a lifer for him.
It was awesome, man. Another lifer.
Another lifer?
I've gotten a few out here today. I'd have to go through my list to figure out which ones, but that's awesome. So I appreciate the heads up for it. For
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
After watching the white-eyed vireos, we went off the main trail to a place with sandy soil and a lot more open space. Here we found a common yellowthroat, got quick glimpses of a yellow-breasted chat, and got some really nice looks at a massive pileated woodpecker. Tyler, how do you think the field trip's going so far?
I think it's going well. The mosquitoes are definitely making it difficult, but we're still picking up a lot of the main targets here. That pileated woodpecker was pretty sweet.
We went a little farther down the main trail, finding even more new species for the trip.
Our group just had least flycatcher perched up, and then also eastern bluebird. So we are still finding new species here today. There's a lot to see. It's a really cool habitat, really different from the stuff we were experiencing earlier in the week. The bugs are still really bad. Apparently they're not normally like this. I think it's because we've had a lot of rain, but it's definitely making it a little tough today.
After a great morning walking the trails, we made our way back, spotting some more species at home in oak savannas, as well as a Tennessee warbler. Eventually, we finished exploring this part of Oak Openings and headed to another portion of the Metro Park, where some specialty species can be found. I'm really excited for this part of the trip because there should be some lark sparrows there, maybe blue grosbeaks, grasshopper sparrows, so stuff that I find to be a little more rare in parts of the Midwest. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what species we can pull out of here and continuing to enjoy it with the other birders that are around, because it seems like everyone's having a good time. Once we arrived at our destination, we noticed that it had more of a prairie vibe and also had the birds to match. We easily found lark sparrows, a yellow-throated vireo, and eventually the one we wanted to see most, the blue grosbeak. That was so cool finding that blue grosbeak. There's just something special about getting your target species in a new place. We were in the car just scanning, and all of a sudden Derek pointed it out and ran out of the car, and then I ran out of the car with an energy drink still because it was in my hand. So really quick happening there, but glad we got to see it. Dude, how about that blue grosbeak?
Blue grosbeak was sweet. It's really awesome to see the contrast of the male with everything else, because it's just a bright blue. It's like a blueberry colored bird. So we got that, and then we got some nice views of yellow-throated vireo. So we got a tip from one of our friends we met here that there's a place with a ton of grasshopper sparrows. So we're gonna go there next. He made it sound like it was super easy. He said get out of the car and you should hear them. So we're gonna check for that, and then I think we'll go probably head back towards the northeast.
Feeling great about our time at Oak Openings, we drove just a few minutes away to try and find the grasshopper sparrows. It took no time at all to add them to our list.
All right, props to our friend Joe. He said we would pull up, we would hear them immediately. We pulled up, we hear them immediately. So we're gonna get out and try to get some better looks. But there's definitely loads of grasshopper sparrows out there.
We got out of the car and quickly spotted some of these gorgeous looking sparrows. This is honestly an insanely cool grasshopper sparrow experience. There are species that can be really hard to find, and if they're not up and singing, can be really hard to locate even if you do know where they are. They're actually a really beautiful bird. You see that white on the top of the crown, some black striping there too, and a nice kind of auburn hue to them. So really cool species that, like I said, can be tough to find. And if you do find them, it's worth taking a quick look. As advertised, the grasshopper sparrow experience was sublime. So now we are going to go to one of the pizza places in Toledo and try one of their slices and see if it's any good. It's one of the places that's been reviewed by a lot of people and supposedly a really solid place to get pizza, and we're pumped to finally get some food today.
Pumped to do some pizza review today. We are 26 minutes away.
We arrived at the Stubborn Brother, one of the most acclaimed pizza places in the Toledo area, feeling extremely hungry and excited.
All right, check this out. Look at that. That's a delicious looking pizza. You ready? It's New York style. See what I mean about the sauce being like swirled on there? It's super thin. A little bit of flop. Not bad though. Good undercarriage. It feels like it's gonna be crispy. This is delicious. This is fantastic. I feel like the cheese has a lot of flavor. The sauce is really good. Good crunch. This is a really good pizza. Man. I'm going to 8.6. This is a phenomenal pizza. If you're in the area, stop by Toledo, go to the Stubborn Brother.
After having possibly the best pizza we've ever had, we got back to the birding. We fueled up, took a little break to charge some batteries, and now we are back on the road looking for some more birds. We met up with our friend Trey, who I've actually known for a very long time. He's friends with another one of our friends, Rob, and I've encountered Trey at some place in Wisconsin. But he's actually from Georgia, and he's up here guiding. So we're gonna go birding together and see if we can find some new warbler species, and then if we have time, some new shorebird species and duck species too. So could be good, could be rough. We'll see how it goes. You never know what you're gonna get when you go out birding in this place.
Yep, looking forward to doing some birding with Trey. And hopefully we can find some birds we haven't seen yet to add to our Ohio list.
Our first stop was at Pearson Metro Park, a place where we hope to find some new warbler species.
What's up, guys? I'm Trey. I'm from Macon, Georgia. Glad to be up here at the biggest week. It's hopping with warblers. Biggest bird party in the world has just begun.
Pearson had a lot of great habitat for migratory birds, and they seemed to move through the tall trees in groups. Eventually, we found a solid section of forest where the warblers were hanging out.
Got a ton of stuff in this flock. Golden wing views of the white-breasted nuthatch. We've had a redstart, Nashville in there, so this is pretty distant, but a pretty awesome flock we have here.
The golden winged warbler dropped down, giving us some decent views. That was a good find.
Yeah.
Declining species.
It's nice because we got a big group now accumulated, so we're all helping to find birds.
After seeing most of the birds in the area, we walked some other parts of the park, but the birding had noticeably slowed down. Definitely some solid pockets of birds around. It's getting to be a little more of that midday slump that happens though, so all the activity kind of died down. We did find an oven bird, but definitely still the best bird so far has been the golden winged warbler, which is a species that's in decline, so it's always cool to see that particular bird. It's also a very striking looking warbler, so it's a nice one to check off the list for the year. Feeling like the flow of warblers had ebbed significantly, we turned our attention to marsh species. However, we would have to continue without Derek. Derek wasn't feeling very well. He was having an allergy issue, so he headed back to the hotel, but I'm still with Trey, and we're gonna go try to find some more species that are new for the year for the state. So we're gonna go back to Howard Marsh, but we're gonna try the west end where some stuff was reported. We made our way to Howard Marsh that actually has two portions of it. The part that's east of the road and the part that's west of the road. We had already checked out the eastern portion, but this time we tried the west. Many birds in this area were far out into the marsh, but we did manage to pick out trumpeter swans and a common gallinule. We heard from other birders that a yellow-headed blackbird had been seen at the east side of the marsh and went to try to find it. Got a couple new birds to add to the list at the last spot. Now we're back at the east side of the marsh because somebody said they had a yellow-headed blackbird here. So it seems like it's gonna be distant and hard to find, but we'll see what we can get. Got a few new birds at least, so we're on the right track. Much like last time, this side of Howard Marsh was very productive, having black-necked stilts, dunlin, ruddy ducks, and more. After getting some intel from other birders, we scoped the area where the blackbird had been seen. Eventually we spotted it way out in the marsh. Got the yellow-headed blackbird, super distant views, but Trey was able to spot it in his scope, which was awesome because it seems like a bird that's tricky to get this year. And then heard a least bittern, which is another cool bird that we had no hope of seeing if we tried to look for it, but hearing it helped us check it off the list. Next, we went to another place we had already been earlier in the week, Ottawa National Wildlife Refuge. On this day, a nighthawk was reported sitting out in the open, so we wanted to get a look at it. We found it pretty much immediately. Right up here there is a common nighthawk, and while like the name would suggest they are actually pretty common, it is uncommon to be able to see them during the day resting because their camouflage is so good. So it's really a treat to be able to see that one up there relaxing. After taking some time to watch the nighthawk swaying in the wind, we explored another part of the refuge, having yet another incredible experience with a prothonotary warbler, something that seemed to be routine at the biggest week. I feel like the views of prothonotary warblers keep somehow getting better. Every time I think that it can't be beat, boom, I have another experience that tops it. That was crazy. It was just out in the open so close that I couldn't even film it. So that was a really wild, really neat way to experience that bird that is still singing in this swampy habitat. We decided to make one more quick stop to end the day, Mallard Club Marsh. Here, we found many common shorebird species, but nothing that was new for the week. Day 3 of the biggest week in American birding was highlighted by the unique birds at oak openings, pizza, and a few more interesting additions at our quick stops we made later in the day. With so many places to explore, and so much to do at the biggest week, every day is different and memorable, and this one was no exception. Still early in the week, we would have many more experiences yet to come. Be sure to look for those videos as they come out. But until then, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Badgerland Birding.